In the small town of Millbrook Falls, the bakery on Chestnut Street opened its ovens at 4 in the morning, long before the sun touched the water tower or the milk truck rattled down Main Street. Ruth Calloway had been the one lighting those ovens for 46 years. She was 17 when she first walked through the flour-dusted door of Calloway's Bread and Pie, her father's shop, wearing an apron 2 sizes too big and sleeves rolled to her elbows. She was 83 when she walked through it for the last time, leaning on a cane, still able to tell by smell alone whether the rye needed 4 more minutes in the oven. In between, there were 46 years of 4 a.m. mornings. 46 years of flour under her fingernails and the particular ache in her shoulders that came from kneading dough by hand long after she could have afforded a machine to do it for her. She never bought the machine. Bread remembers who made it. She used to tell the boy who swept her floors, and the dough remembers hands. Ruth's own father had built the bakery from almost nothing. 1 wood-fired oven and a single recipe for rye bread that his own mother had carried over from the old country. He taught Ruth to read dough the way other fathers taught their children to read books. Too wet, and it would never hold its shape. Too dry, and it would crack under its own weight before it ever had the chance to rise. Somewhere in those early mornings at her father's elbow, Ruth learned the lesson that would quietly shape the rest of her life, that the things worth having were rarely the things that happened quickly. Ruth's husband, Daniel, died young in a logging accident up near the ridge when Ruth was 31 years old. He left her with the bakery, a mortgage, and a 6-year-old son named Peter. Neighbors brought casseroles for a week and then, as neighbors do, went back to their own lives. The town expected her to sell the shop, to move somewhere smaller, to start over. Instead, she wiped her eyes exactly once, tied her apron a little tighter, and doubled her hours. What the town did not know, what almost no one knew, save for a soft-spoken accountant named Mr. Foss, who kept a small office above the hardware store, was that every single month, without exception, for the better part of 5 decades, Ruth Calloway set aside a fixed portion of the bakery's earnings and placed it into a simple, unglamorous index fund. Not a hot stock tip, not a scheme, just a small piece of the whole market, purchased a little at a time, month after month, rain or shine. She started with $12 a month back in 1979. It felt, she said, like buying a single embarrassing loaf of bread that nobody in town would ever want. But she kept going anyway. The market did not make it easy for her. In October of 1987, the boy who swept her floors, Peter, now a teenager, watched her read the morning newspaper at the counter, her face unreadable, while the radio announcers used the word crash like it was the only word left in the language. Customers that morning talked of nothing else, some of them half joking that the whole country was about to come apart. Ruth listened, nodded politely, finished her coffee, folded the paper in half, and went back to proofing dough. She did not sell a single share. In the year 2000, when the town's small investment club dissolved in panic over collapsing technology stocks, and men who had never once set foot in her bakery suddenly had a great deal to say about the market, Ruth kept her monthly contribution exactly the same as always. She did not read the financial pages more closely. She did not call Mr. Foss in a panic. She simply baked and served and swept and let her 12th of the month arrive the way it always did. In 2008, when half of Millbrook Falls seemed to be talking about foreclosures over her counter instead of coffee cake, when the bank 2 doors down laid off 3 tellers in a single week, Ruth did something that startled even Mr. Foss. She quietly increased her contribution because prices, she reasoned, were simply on sale, the same way flour was on sale when the mill up north had a surplus. Buy more when it's cheap, she told him. That's not bravery, that's just arithmetic. In the spring of 2020, when the whole world seemed to be holding its breath, when the streets of Millbrook Falls emptied out overnight and half the storefronts on Main went dark, Ruth opened the bakery an hour earlier instead of closing it, to bake bread for the families who could not get to the store. That same week, without fanfare, without a second thought, she made her regular deposit into the fund, exactly on schedule, exactly as she always had. She would later say it was the easiest decision of that entire terrifying spring, because by then, patience wasn't a decision at all. It was simply a habit, worn smooth by 40 years of repetition. "Fear is expensive," she told Mr. Foss once, standing in his narrow office above the hardware store. "I would rather pay in patience." To the town, Ruth Calloway's life looked exactly the size it appeared to be. A modest house 2 streets back from the bakery, a 22-year-old sedan she drove until the floorboards nearly gave out beneath her. Sunday dinners made from whatever hadn't sold that week. She gave the day's unsold bread to the church pantry every single evening without fail, and she never once mentioned money or investing or the market to a living soul apart from her accountant. Her son Peter grew up sweeping those same floors, learning that same recipe, and to his mother's quiet disappointment and eventual pride, chose a classroom over a bakery. He moved 2 towns over and became a school teacher, married a woman named Alice, and had 2 daughters who called Ruth Grandma Bread, long before they understood why. He visited every Sunday without fail, driving the same 20 minutes down the county road, always arriving in time to help carry dishes to the table. He assumed, as everyone in Millbrook Falls did, that his mother was comfortable in the plain, unremarkable way of someone who owned a small bakery and lived carefully within her means. More than once, watching her coat grow thinner and her car grow older, he offered to help her financially as she grew into her 70s and then her 80s. She always smiled the same smile, told him she was just fine, and asked if he wanted the last slice of pie. He never pushed. It wasn't in either of them. Years passed the way they do in small towns, quietly and all at once. The bakery's brick front grew a little more weathered. The bell above the door kept the same crack in its ring it had carried since before Peter was born. New shops opened and closed along Main Street, a video store, a nail salon, a coffee chain that lasted 18 months before giving up. Calloway's bread and pie simply stayed, the way a fixed point stays while everything else moves around it. And every month, in an office most people in Millbrook Falls didn't even know existed, a small, disciplined number kept landing in the same account it always had. The deposit outliving hairstyles, presidents, and entire decades of local gossip. Ruth Calloway passed away peacefully in the spring, at the age of 84, in the small room above the bakery where she had slept for 6 decades. She had baked a full batch of rye bread the morning before, out of habit more than necessity, and Peter later said it was the best loaf he could ever remember tasting, though he suspected that had less to do with the bread and more to do with knowing it would be her last. The whole town came to her funeral. Farmers who bought her bread every Saturday for 30 years. Children she had once given free day-old rolls to on their walk home from school, now grown, now with children of their own. The line for the reception stretched past the church and down toward the very street where her ovens sat cold for the first time in 46 years, and more than one person remarked that Millbrook Falls simply smelled different that week, missing the yeast and wood smoke that had drifted down Chestnut Street every morning of their lives. It was 2 weeks later, in Mr. Foss's narrow office above the hardware store, that Peter Calloway learned the truth about his mother. Her estate, built from $12 a month, then $50, then several $100s a month, compounding quietly through crashes and recoveries, through wars and recessions, for 46 unbroken years, had grown to $3,400,000. There was a letter waiting for him, handwritten in Ruth's careful, flour-dusted script that explained everything. She had never wanted the money to change how she lived, she wrote, only how others might one day begin. Half of the estate would fund a scholarship for Millbrook Falls students pursuing any trade or craft, even if it looks small at first, she wrote, especially if it looks small at first. The other half would keep the ovens on Chestnut Street burning, in Peter's name, for as long as the town wanted bread. Peter read the letter twice, then a third time, sitting very still in a wooden chair that had probably not been replaced since his mother was young herself. He thought about every Sunday dinner made from unsold bread, every day-old loaf quietly given away, every $12 month that had, without a single dramatic moment, become $3,400,000. He thought about the machine she never bought and the $12 that had somehow, quietly, become the foundation of a scholarship that would outlive them both. Peter reopened the bakery that autumn. Above the register, where his mother once kept a small chalkboard listing the day's specials, he hung her final ledger page instead. 46 years of small, disciplined numbers written in her own hand. The very last line simply read, "Still buying, still baking." The town never did learn to see Ruth Calloway as anything other than the baker who never missed a morning. And that, Peter came to understand, standing in the same flour-dusted light his mother had stood in for nearly half a century, was exactly how she had wanted it. She never made a scene, she never made a bet. She simply kept showing up at 4 in the morning for 46 years, in the bakery and in the market both, letting an ordinary habit, repeated without fail, do something extraordinary in the quiet. $12 a month in 1979 did not look like very much. It looked, if anything, like nothing at all. That is perhaps the entire lesson hiding inside Ruth Calloway's life. Wealth did not arrive for her in a single dramatic moment. It arrived the way bread rises, slowly, invisibly, given time, given warmth, and given the discipline not to open the oven door too soon. Nobody in Millbrook Falls ever thought to ask the woman behind the counter what she did with her money, because nobody thought to ask a baker such a question at all. That, perhaps, was the quiet advantage Ruth Calloway carried her entire life. She was never mistaken for wealthy, and so she was never treated as though her habits mattered, and so she was left alone, decade after decade, to simply keep doing the one small thing that worked. Somewhere in Millbrook Falls tonight, the ovens on Chestnut Street are lit again, hours before sunrise, exactly as they have been for nearly half a century. And somewhere in a quiet office above the hardware store, a new number is being added to a very old ledger, started by a woman who believed that patience, practiced quietly enough for long enough, was the only fortune worth building.